Great morning, great morning, great morning. It's Monday morning, 10 o'clock a.m. on the dot, and you're mic'd up on Monday morning with Michael Clayton. Listen, it's been a long 24 hours for me today, y'all. All right, the Bucks played last night. Well, I don't even know if we can consider that playing. All right, it would probably be better off saying that the Saints played last night against a group of guys. All right, that's what our Bucks looked like last night. Not a team, but just a group of guys out there standing around and getting pushed around, standing around, getting pushed around, and getting beat down is what happened to us. All right, and it was tough for me to watch because I was up all last night on the radio to 2 a.m. in the morning. It affected me in a major way. All right, and I say us because I'm a Bucks for life. All right. You never, once a Buck, always a Buck. And their success means something to me. I mean, I woke up, my body was beat down, my neck hurt, back hurt, eyes hurt from watching that mess. All right? Feel like I got two black eyes and a missing tooth in the front. Saints gave us that Ike Turner. Saints gave us that Joe Jackson last night. Saints gave us that Rodney King. All right, boy, we got beat up last night. Let me quit playing around. I don't want to offend nobody this morning. Thank y'all for tuning in. You're mic'd up on Monday mornings with yours truly. I'm your host, Michael Clayton. And for those tuning in for the first time, please let me introduce myself. I was born in the bayou. Yes, I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Played college football at LSU. Played under the great Nick Saban, and I was a part of the 2001 class that helped change how people looked at LSU. All right, we won a national championship in 2003 where I served as a captain and went on the following year to be drafted to the Tampa Bay Bucks as their first-round 15th pick overall. I played 8 total years in the NFL, finishing my career with a Super Bowl 46 win as a New York Football Giant. Man, it feels like yesterday. And after 8 long, trying years, y'all, after 8 surgeries and a whole lot of other mess in between, I decided to walk away from football and wait patiently to see how God was going to use me next. I wrote a self-help book called Chasing My Rookie Year, and though it may have a football ring to it, it was more so written to youth and young adults, single mothers, and those really looking to be inspired to be their very best selves. In this book, I highlight some trials and tribulations of my life. I give you my take on how you can do better than I did. I just told y'all after I retired, I waited patiently to see what God was going to do with me next. And he led me into media, which is now how I serve my community today. I have the Michael Clayton Live 2.0 show getting ready to relaunch. All right, we just wrapped up what I like to call season 1 of Michael Clayton Live. So follow me on all the social media platforms at Michael Clayton Live so you don't miss a beat. I host also the pre- and post-game radio show covering the Bucks on our flagship radio station, 95.3 WDAE and 620 on your AM dial. Every week, I give you my perspective on how the team is doing, and it's not in my blood to hold back at all. All right, so I give sports fans that real deal. All right, I don't hold back, don't pull no punches. I give you the real deal, and it's always entertaining. All right, always. And last but certainly not least, I'm now doing my Mic'd Up on Monday Morning with Michael Clayton podcast, where I do my very best to do a little storytelling in hopes that you kind of learn something to enhance your life. That's what it's all about. All right? I'm a motivator. I want you to do better. All right? I want my people to win in life. And when I say my people, I'm talking about all people. I want you to win in life. So that's what I aim to do here. All right? And I do this by giving you what I like to call Michael's mess, which is some type of trial or tribulation that I experienced and then I follow up that message with a motivational message to tell you what I learned from my mess. And in the second half of the show, if I'm fortunate enough, I like to bring in a special guest to share a few words. And if you like, at that time, feel free to dial us up and chop it up with us right here on the MMMMC, Mic'd Up on Monday Morning with Michael Clayton show. That number is 813-444-9588. That's 813-444-9588. Feel free to dial us in on the second half of the show. Now, as I was contemplating this morning what I was going to share, and a lot of times it's like that, I really, like, when doing media, like, you got to be prepared. But like I said, I was up to 2 a.m. This morning covering the Bucks. Had to do a post-game show for 2 hours. We didn't go on air till about 11:30. So I didn't really get home till about 2:30. And, I didn't really have a full time to prepare. But I kind of just feel like I'm sitting in this space, and I was just kind of, hoping that God would put on my heart a message to share, with you this morning. And then as I was contemplating this morning what I was going to share with you, the word influence kept popping into my spirit. All right? And the first thing that popped into my mind was the countless times that I've been able to lead people down a better path. Now, I'm 38 years old, and honestly, I feel like I'm living in my purpose, inspiring people to be great every single week. But then, but then, let me get my articulators right this morning. All right. But then the Spirit weighed on my heart and said, tell them how you got to that point, though, MC. You a good man. You look to inspire, but it wasn't always so. Tell them how you got to that point. And I knew then exactly what I was supposed to share with y'all this morning in today's message. And it begins how my influence led people down the wrong path. You heard me. My influence led people down the wrong path. So let's get into the message for today. I gave y'all a little bit of my history in the opening because I wanted you to know my accolades. People tend to put famous athletes on a pedestal, assuming that they can do no wrong. All right, we become role models to people who surround us without permission. And those people, a lot of times, is kids who want to act like us, dress like us, go where we go, and do what we do. And in my first year with the Bucks, I got off to a pretty great start now. 1,193 yards, 80 catches, 7 touchdowns. I was the talk of the town. But years after, I struggled to match what I had done in my rookie year. And as a 21, 22-year-old kid, who had always had success, I struggled mentally to deal with my shortcomings. And like many young adults in their 20s, I tried to find my peace at the bottom of a Hennessy bottle. I got to be real with you. All right? I tried to find my peace in the bottom of a hypnotic bottle. They had a saying, hypnotic and Hennessy, they call it Incredible Hulk. You remember that? Don't you, DJ Anna?
Oh, Lord. He going to mess up my name, y'all. Yes, Incredible Hulk. That's what they called it.
That's what they called it. I was all up in there. And if the bottle didn't bring me joy, I went searching for peace in the peace pipe. I'm gonna be real with y'all this morning. I ain't pulling back. Yes, I did it. All right. I blew that stress right away. Every day I did. Pain be gone. You ain't got to tell me that weed take away pain. I knew that already. Took away the stress. It didn't take away the stress, but it kind of numbed it a little bit. But that was my life at 20, in my early 20s. This is what I did. All right. And after you couldn't get any drunker, after you couldn't get any higher, and that depression was still pounding on that brain, I went searching for that peace in a piece of tail. Yes, I did. Roy Jones Jr. made a song back in the day that described me to the T. Roy Jones Jr. said, I smoke, I drink, I'm supposed to stop, but I can't. I'm a dog. I love toes. I ain't gonna say it. I love toes. We gonna keep it clean. And I'm addicted to money, cars, and clothes. Do it big, dear. Body head. Describe me to the T. Man, that music influenced me to be a beast. Yes, it did. And I was cute now, back in the day. Had muscles, had money. Oh, it had all the honey. Wanted all the honey. Yes, I did. These are the things that I was going through. Trying to find my peace in things that could not give me purpose. I was young, I was dumb. And what I didn't realize is the people who surrounded me were looking at me, watching me, and wanting to do what I was doing. They saw me enjoying myself in the club. They saw me hanging around people and hanging around women and balling, and they wanted that type of lifestyle. I didn't really realize the power of influence in my early 20s. And it wasn't until I was 22 years old where all of it came to a screeching halt. I finally realized how important it is to manage your influence in the right way. I discovered who I was at the core and what I was doing. And I could no longer carry myself in that way after one of the most tragic events of my life took place. When I got drafted, I brought my homeboys with me. My brother Courtney and my brother Steve. Some of my best friends, I call them my brothers because that's who we are. That's our relationship. Blood wouldn't make us any closer. My brother Courtney took care of me. Took care of me in college, made sure I had, what I needed. Vehicle to drive if I didn't have a ride. Money in my pocket if I needed something. A couch to sleep on. A bed to sleep on if I needed it. He always provided me those things, man. Filled in the gaps for me. Had a baby at 19 years old, and I wasn't on my own. I had loving parents, but I wanted to do it on my own. So I needed my homeboys, and Courtney served as that light for me, that help for me. And then my brother Steve, his daddy was a kingpin in South Baton Rouge. He was a big dog. And Steve was an intellect, but he was both an intellect in school and in the streets. He was a valedictorian at his high school, but he knew how to weigh up the dope, and he knew the prices, and he knew how to hustle. He knew all of these things because he was influenced by his father. And when I met Steve when I was a little boy and growing up, when I came into money, into the draft, I said, man, Steve always impressed me with how smart he was, though he was a street kid. So I brought him with me to Tampa Bay. All right? And he kind of did the easy job, picked me up from the airport, always made sure the cars had gas in it, got the house clean, wash dishes, just always made sure he was my driver when I was going out on these little drunken rants, make sure that I was safe. Like I had my boys with me, all right? And I want to get back to influence because I don't want you to miss the message. Now, at that time when I was doing all of that, I wasn't realizing who was watching me and the negative influence that I was leading people to kind of portray. I was inspiring people to want to party hard and party all night and smoke and drink and, whoremongers and all of those things that come along with being in your early 20s, lessons that you got to learn. And I wasn't aware of how the people around me were watching me and wanting to emulate what I was doing. My brother Steve, when I was 22 years old, really embodied my life. He really became one with my life, and he wanted that for himself. We had lived together for 2-3 years, going on my 3rd year in the league, and he pretty much saw how I operated, and I could pretty much go where I wanted to go, do what I wanted to do, meet who I wanted to meet, celebrities and all of these things, and he wanted that lifestyle. He wanted that for himself. What Steve didn't see was at nighttime, I would get home and I would just cry, y'all. I would just cry in tears, crocodile tears, asking God to bring me back to peace, to bring joy in my life. Now, you would think 22, 21, 22 years old, just signed a $12 million contract, driving the Bentleys, the Hummers, the Benzes, living in the house I want to live in, going where I want to go. You would think that I had peace in my life, but I didn't. I was miserable because my identity was in football. I didn't know what my true purpose was at that point in my life. And I tell everybody, your platform is not your purpose in life. Your platform is not your purpose in life. What you do with your platform is your purpose in life. Because one day, that job, if you play sports, it's going to come to an end. And purpose lasts forever. It don't stop. It's eternal. It's eternal. So that means that if the job stops, that can't be your purpose. But what you learn on that job, what you do on that job, is your purpose in life. And I had to learn that because when football was down, I was down. And this was God's way of kind of teaching me that I was more than just football. I was bigger than football. And that he wanted to do something special with my life. And how he taught me this lesson, he brought a very tragic experience to my life. When we come back, I want to tell you about what happened. I want to sum all of that up and give you a message of what I had to learn through this tragedy that God put in my path so that I could overcome and do better and be the man that I am today. The message coming back up when we return. Stay with us.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, Let's Do Lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No.
Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
How to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
Frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You've been injured. You deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Parrish from the Law Office of Clinton Parrish. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Parrish, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parishlawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Parrish, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
high integrity, all right, to that I was responsible for influencing him in a negative way. I don't want people to go through that anguish and pain because it's tough, especially when someone close to you passes. If it's a young niece or a young nephew who's in the streets because they want to be like uncle or they want to be like cousin, we got to understand who we are in this world and what we need to be to our people and influence them in a positive way. My special guest that I have on the show today, and it's funny how God works because the message that he put in my heart was about influence. And though there's an age gap between my special guest today, it's crazy because we were influenced by the same person. And that person was my Uncle Ossie Brown, who as a young kid influenced me to get out of my auntie house playing around with Barbie dolls with my girl cousins, playing tag. And he said, boy, get your butt out there and go play football with your cousins out in the pastures. He forced me and pushed me out there. Like, I didn't want to play football. I didn't want to get hit. But my uncle stepped in and kind of redirected my life and forced me to go out there. And lo and behold, it was something that changed my life, being able to play football. And my special guest today was a 4-time Pro Bowler, played 13 years in the NFL, originally drafted in 1977 to the Houston Oilers, found his way to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and wreaked havoc every time he stepped on the field. His name is now in Raymond James Stadium. He was just that good. And we were talking about influence, of how my uncle influenced me. My whole family went to Alcorn State University, which is the great Jimmy Giles' alma mater as well. And it's crazy, Jimmy, how things have come full circle. And not only did my uncle influence me to go play football, but my uncle, Ossie Brown, had a big influence on your life as well. Welcome to the show, Jimmy.
Hey, it's great to be here. Coach Ossie Brown. He was not only an outstanding gentleman, he was the person that actually influenced me, as you just mentioned, to play football. I never will forget the day. In fact, my wife and I was talking about it a few days ago. It was one summer evening, and the football team was out on the football field. And I'm an athlete. You know, I played basketball, baseball, and just messed around. I didn't play football because at Alcorn, we practiced. They practiced 3 times a day, and I didn't want to be part of that because I was the first in my family to go to college. I wanted to get my degree. I wanted to go to law school, and that was my whole purpose. Yeah. That was my purpose, so I can influence people in life. And I just happened on this particular day to see these guys out there, and I go out on the football field and they asked me if I wanted to play. Of course I wanted to play. Mike, I was running by these guys, making one-hand catches, and we must have played, it was just a pickup game. And their number one defensive back, they call him Monk. This dude was bad, man. He ran like a 4.3 40, and he was all swag, all American. And I'm just going by this guy like it was a breeze. And I didn't think nothing of it. I mean, it was just no big deal. We were having fun. After the practice, this gentleman came over to me, which I knew, Coach, but we didn't have a lot of conversation. He's the only man that I ever let him call me boy. Just like you said a few minutes ago, boy, get up out that couch.
Boy, get your butt up out there,
That's
couch,
right.
Go play football.
He came and grabbed me and put his arm around. He said, boy, do you think about ever playing football? He said, you got the ability to probably, to go to the next level. Now, when he said next level, I had no freaking idea what he was talking about because I had not been on any level. But he started breaking everything down to me. He said, man, you just outran the best cornerback in the league in the SWAC with grace. He said, you should come out from football. And even though he said that to me, it really didn't register at the time because I still had the thoughts in my mind that I'm representing my family. I want to show my sisters and brothers this is our path to being successful, is going to school, getting a degree. But you talked about God earlier. God has a way of influencing you to influence other people. Yeah. About 2 weeks later, they made an announcement on the television that Alcorn State University and Grambling State University, which was Doug Williams School, would be the first college team to play in the Louisiana Superdome.
Ooh.
Oh, my God. I jumped up and hit the ceiling. I'm playing football.
In big-time football now.
That's big time. You're going to play in the Louisiana Superdome. You're going to be the first college team to play in the Louisiana Superdome. Nothing could top that.
Was
That's
that the
history.
Bayou Classic back then, or was it?
It was a class. It wasn't about that's Southern and Grambling.
Yeah.
But this was.
It was a classic.
We always played the first game of the season in the SWAC between Grambling and Alcorn, and I did. I went out. I earned a starting role. I didn't earn it. I took it.
Yeah,
because
I wanted it.
Jimmy. I wanted it.
There you go, baby.
Because now my purpose had changed. I saw a way to not only get my education, but be successful early in life and influence my sisters and brothers. So I went out, and the very first guy after the game, even though they beat our butt, was who is now and still is one of my best friends, is Doug Williams. That's how God put people in your life.
Yes, indeed.
And just to take it a quick step further, when Doug went to the Super Bowl, every step of the way, I was right there with him. Everything that happened, I was right there with him. Even though he didn't play for the Bucs, his best friend was still there with him. And we talked about life. And the other thing, people don't know, I was the most valuable player of that Super Bowl because I was on the 40-yard line, and every time he put one up, I went and got it in my mind.
Right. Yes, indeed.
I was sitting there watching him during the game, and, man, I could just see him and myself playing in the Super Bowl together because that was our dream, being with the Bucs, to play in the Super Bowl together. And, of course, we fell one game short, and you guys did what you all had to do back in the day, but that was a great, great game, and we were still there. But that's just how life is, man.
And it's a tremendous story, and to the point to now, we live in a culture now where, you see Deion Sanders, going to Jackson State, and Warren Sapp and Terrell Owens. And a lot of people don't think, a lot of young athletes don't think that you can get noticed at HBCUs. And because you had a great career, I want to ask you about that, about how you feel HBCUs do in terms of putting top-notch talent. Now, you just mentioned yourself, Doug Williams, both of y'all come from HBCUs and dominated the National Football League, and I just got to assume, I grew up watching Jerry Rice, who went to Mississippi Valley, and it's like, I didn't know about major D1 college football. This is going to sound funny. Well, you understand this.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know about major D1 college football until my junior year in high school.
Wow.
Because my whole life, we went to every Alcorn game.
Right.
I was on the sidelines before Steve McNair was there. My Uncle Osi had me out there as a ball boy, spatting up, throwing a little football, doing the halftime shows, trying to score touchdowns at halftime, getting the fans cheered up, listening to the band play. That was my life.
And watching the band.
And you didn't take your eyes off the band now. That's one of the most important components of SWAC football. But it was like, man, I learned my toughness from what I saw at Alcorn. I learned how to play the game of football. I learned how to be that dude watching Steve McNair become that dude. HBCU.
Mike, let me tell you something. The first black quarterback to make the Pro Bowl came from a HBCU, James Shack Harris.
Yes, indeed.
James Shack Harris, which I think one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game was my buddy, Doug Williams. When I look at wide receivers, the greatest wide receiver statistically is Jerry Rice.
Could arguably be one of the best athletes. Though.
Absolutely. The greatest running back, in my mind, and a lot of other people lie. Jackson State, Walter Payton.
Yes, indeed.
One of the greatest linebackers who ever just got recognized a couple years ago, Robert Brazile, 10-time Pro Bowler. And it took him all these years to get noticed and get in the Hall of Fame. Some of the greatest defensive backs. But because we went to an HBCU, your path might be a little bit different and harder to find, but you're going to be noticed. If it's in your will and in your mind, you will be noticed.
Yes.
So people can say, I took a different path. But when you're destined to be noticed, when you're destined and will yourself to be successful in whatever endeavor you want to be in, you're going to be noticed.
As long as you put forth the effort, what God has what God has for you, no man can take away.
Absolutely.
No man can take away. So I want to encourage, young athletes out there, parents out there who's sending your kids, like, it doesn't matter where you go to school. The most important thing is that you have an opportunity to get a free education.
And you go to school. Right?
And you go to school, all right, and get that free education because, like I say, football ends one day. Football ends one day, Jimmy, and you can look back on all the great memories, but when your NFL career is over with, you're under 30 years old sometimes.
You're right. Absolutely.
And what you going to do for the rest of your life, and one of the things that I admire about you, Jim, is that not only did you realize your purpose early in life, you kind of, forced your will on the opponent, had a tremendous NFL career, but your life after football story is something tremendous as well. Tell us a little bit about what you do for the community right now.
Well, Mike, the first part of that is family. When I went to Alcorn, we were all about family. Even today, those guys are still my family.
Yeah.
From a guy like Lawrence Pillars. I mean, this guy was a two-time Super Bowl participant with the San Francisco 49ers. And he had a tremendous year at Alcorn. We're still best of friends. That's the camaraderie that you have with these guys. And once I went to Alcorn on a different circumstance because actually I was going to Michigan, and my senior year in high school, I was introduced to a young lady, senior. I'm a senior. And this just shows you how God works. And I had been looking at this young lady, but I didn't know how to approach her, man, because most players, like receivers, we're a little shy initially. Initially when you approach, but then when we get that little edge,
bravado, yeah,
you can't stop us.
Diva,
you can't
comes
stop
out.
Us. So this man was our mail carrier, and he asked me one day if I knew his sister. No, sir, Mr. Davis, I don't know who your sister is. But when he gave me her name, that put those radars in my head. So I asked my buddy, Glenn, I said, Glenn, who is Vivian Davis? And, I got excited, man. I wanted to see Vivian. And he said back in the day, we used the word be chilly, be chilly.
Be chilly. I like that.
I'm
be
going
chilly.
back now.
We're going to have to bring that back. Be chilly.
So he sees this young lady walking down the hall one day, and he said Tip, because they called me Tip because I ran on my toes and walked on my toes. And all of a sudden I see this young lady, and that's the lady that I've had my eyes on. I'll show you how God works.
Yeah.
2 months before we graduated, I've signed a scholarship with Michigan because my family had migrated to Detroit and Pontiac because that's where all the jobs were.
I got you.
In GM and
automobile
Ford
industry,
and
yeah.
the automobile industry. So, lo and behold, we get to talking. I call her and introduce myself. I find out she had a full scholarship going to Alcorn, academic scholarship.
Wow.
She's one of these smart people, right? Guess what I did?
You followed her. Hey, but that's big, though. You turned down Michigan.
Yes, sir, for this lady.
The rich history in Michigan to go to a HBCU college.
Absolutely.
Was back then was HBCUs looked upon like people look at HBCUs and they look at them like a downgrade. These days,
certain colleges, because Grambling had this reputation of being a predominant school.
Gotcha.
You know, Grambling could have played with any of those schools, but they refused to play them.
Right.
During that era of time. See, Grambling used to come on television every Sunday. And they influenced a lot of young black men. There was a young man that was the first black quarterback here, Parnell Dickerson.
Yeah, I know Mr.
His
Parnell.
biggest influence in his life was James Shack Harris.
I got you.
And his mom, Grambling, would come on at 11 o'clock on Saturday nights, going into Sunday morning, where they live in Alabama. So his mom would only let him stay up that late to watch Grambling and Shaq Harris. And he was the first quarterback came here. He wore his socks, big, long white socks like Shaq. And today they are best of friends because of that.
That's so awesome.
Great history.
Great rich history from our HBCUs. We are here talking to the legend, Jimmy Giles. Y'all stay with us. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show, get a little bit deeper into some conversations about influence. You get a chance to call in at 813-444-9588 if you want to talk to the legend, Jimmy Giles. Stay with us.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is attorney Clinton Paris from the law office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Touch Radio is smooth soul.
Rocking your radio on the sounds of soul.
Playing your favorite R&B in Touch Radio.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up on Monday mornings with yours truly, Michael Clayton. We are in the booth with the legend, Jimmy Giles. Played 13 years in the National Football League, drafted to the Houston Oilers in 1977, and 1 year later was brought over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where I say wreaked havoc. I didn't know they call you Tip.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
We got a rapper named T.I. They call him Tip, but it's the real Tip right here.
The real Tip.
And so Jimmy, I wanna really, hit home about, how you were influenced, by people of color that kind of brought you to that next level. And for me, it's like I didn't know about major college football until my junior year because I watched Alcorn State, and Steve McNair was like my idol. He was who I watched. So I wanted to go to Alcorn, but I never got that letter. And there's a conversation about like young kids need to go to HBCUs, and I'll never forget this conversation that me and Doug Williams had my junior year in high school. We go out to play Gramblin's high school university, and he's on the field, and I'm showing out against Grambling. And I'm like, Doug walks out on the field, and he says, Mike, as much as I want you, boy, you too big for us. And he told me that, and I was like, what you mean? I didn't know what he meant by that. Like, I'm too big, because I didn't know what was out there,
right.
Kind of like what you said.
He just thought you didn't have a chance to get you.
He didn't think that he had a chance. And I'm saying, like, man, if a HBCU would have reached out to me, I probably would have signed out of just not, I say ignorance, but just not knowing what my potential was, and knowing where my home has always been my whole life. The crazy thing is that Doug went through his career, and he ended up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And when it was John Gruden's chance to draft a guy, Doug Williams stood up on the table for me and was like, this boy is a football player. This is the guy you want. And he went to war for me, and lo and behold, I was drafted in the first round in the 15th pick. So shouts out to Doug Williams.
One thing about Doug, man, he liked toughness.
Oh, yes.
And I don't think anybody could stand up in the National Football League to Michael Clayton as far as toughness is concerned. I mean, a guy that go across the middle to catch the ball and then will knock your block off. I tell you what, you played in a game, and I can't remember the game, but John Gruden talked about it all the time. And you made the play happen because somebody called a pass.
Against the Saints. 2000, I think 2007.
You hit somebody.
Joey Galloway caught a slant. We had double slant. He caught the slant, and I heat seeker and get that safety.
Right.
Send him to escort him to the house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, bar none, you probably was the toughest receiver in terms of just hardcore football from a receiving standpoint and blocking standpoint. And most good teams, if you don't have a guy like that on your team, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm glad you said that.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I know. It's what changed our culture at LSU. When the wide receivers were blocking and putting you in the dirt, it was the expectation. Everybody had to do it.
Right.
We took on a different personality when our class arrived, and I brought that physicality that I had learned in the SWAC. This is the only way you play football.
Right.
You get after them every time you have an opportunity, and it changed the culture at LSU. It influenced LSU to become a dynasty, how I had learned how to play the game of football. And you said you're not going to win. I won a national championship. I got fired from the Bucks, got picked up by the New York Giants. They brought me, kept me there for 2 seasons. I caught 2 passes. Why? To block. That was my role.
Make $10 million.
I ain't make that much, but listen, I did make a few million, though. It was a lot in the end of my career, and I'm thinking
but you were influencing people, and that's the mentality that they wanted.
Absolutely.
Because that's what football is.
And that's what I know. And what you just said, I try to tell people on sports radio. I said, listen, our receivers for the Bucks, they're great. Chris Godwin is the guy who blocks, but when I watch a world champion, their wide receivers are blocking on the perimeter.
Right.
Every single play. Their running backs are getting to the second level and going to big plays. Why?
Right.
Because the wide receivers are blocking. And we don't have that component for the Bucks.
And if you have to tell a guy to do that,
it ain't in them.
It ain't in them. You're right.
Football don't change. No. All right? Football does not change. It has always been the same.
That's right.
Since you played till I played, and will never change. The most physical guy is gonna win the war. May not win the battle,
Because guess what?
You're going to win the war.
The teams you play, they know that. And in their mind, they're looking out for that because they know it can happen to them.
Absolutely.
You got to be physical.
We got a caller coming in. State your name. Welcome to the Mic'd Up on Monday mornings. You're speaking with Michael Clayton and Jimmy Giles. Who we talking to this morning?
Man, you're talking to DJ CEO. I just want to thank the both of you all, man, for just being in the studio. We got two great Buccaneers in the house, and I know you're talking about some things that are concerning to you, but I need you guys to talk about what the hell happened to the Buccaneers last night against the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to hang up and listen.
Oh, man. See, look, he bringing in that talk. What happened to the Buccaneers? I can tell you what happened. We got punched in the mouth. All right? And we don't have a running game. I've been saying it from the beginning of the season that our offensive line, they get to their blocks, Jimmy, but they don't finish the blocks. They don't finish the blocks. And when you don't finish a block and you don't have a running back who can make guys miss, you got a big problem.
I'm not sure if they ever got in the flow of the game yesterday. Even from the first snap, they started going back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they were like on the 20-yard line initially, and they never got a first down until the second or third quarter.
Yeah.
So they just got punched in the mouth yesterday. And sometimes when you get butt whoopings like that, you know what you do? You don't even look at the film.
Yeah.
You
just
accept
move on
it
and move on.
And move on. Because I've always said, Mike, I mean, way back when playing baseball, because I was drafted by the Dodgers, when somebody whoop your butt, you know, you got to accept it. And I always say, before you learn how to win, you got to learn how to take a butt whooping.
Yes, indeed.
They took a good butt whooping, and I guarantee you they won't take another one like that.
Absolutely. And
Bruce Arians is not going to allow it, first of all.
Yeah, well, and I say this too. Not only Bruce Arians, but we got a lot of veteran players on this team too that know how to police the locker room. I was giving the analogy yesterday on radio that when I played in New York, you know, we had Justin Tuck, we had Antrell Rowe, we had Corey Webster, we had Aaron Ross, we had, you know, all of these veteran players, Eli Manning, even Akeem Nicks was a young player, but you had all of these big personalities who were doing big things and really cared about their careers, had played lengthy years, and knew how to bounce back. At one point, we lost 4 games in New York, was almost out of the playoffs, ended up staying together as a family, turning it around, sneaked into the playoffs as a wild card, and went on to win a Super Bowl because of the veteran players that we have. And I just remind people that, hey, in the National Football League, it don't matter what your record is. It don't matter how good you are. If you have a bad day, if you don't take advantage of the opportunities, you can get beat by anybody. Absolutely. And I really feel like, and I don't know if you agree with me, but, you know, we've had a losing culture in Tampa for a long time. And when you get Tom Brady as your quarterback, things change. But the pressure, it mounts up, though. Everybody's watching. You're expected to win. You're expected to win every game. The media is gloom and doom when you lose, you know, and people think that it's over. I mean, like we're 5-3. We got a winning record, all right? And we don't have to face Drew Brees again, which they've had.
We'll
in the playoffs. Oh, absolutely.
In the regular season, another game like last night.
Because Drew Brees is just like Tom Brady is one of the best to ever do it. Drew Brees is one of the best to ever do it. Right. And Sean Payton is one of the best coaches to ever coach.
Absolutely.
He's very creative, and he has all the weapons he needs to kind of just be creative. And they're a dangerous football team.
What we got last night, sometimes ball clubs need that because everybody expects us to do it, but expectation will fall short if you don't live up to your reputation.
Absolutely.
And although he is the best quarterback in the league, he still have to play every single snap.
It's a humbling experience.
It is a very humbling experience. He couldn't make anything happen yesterday. The receivers were running the wrong route or the quarterback was throwing. We don't know what that is, but, you know, they would only have to.
It's obviously it was a mix-up.
Yeah. They had some serious issues last night.
Yeah.
But you still see the talent there, and they got, as you mentioned, they got punched in the mouth. You accept to take that butt whooping and move on and learn from it.
Yeah, and that's all you can do, Darryl. That's all you can do. Thank you for calling in. I like to, you know, Jimmy, you were a big guy. But when I go back and watch film, like you had all of the moves of a smaller guy though, you know? And on radio when I'm talking, I tell the guys that you got to wiggle at the top of your route. You got to give them a little something. And in the first drive,
a lot of guys don't have that.
A lot of guys don't have that. And truth be told, the crazy thing is I didn't have that either growing up. I just was a natural raw guy. I had Richard Mann, who coached 30 years in the league, who used to bring old school film and let us watch old school guys, and he used to tell us football don't change. Yeah. If you learn how to wiggle, and I had to learn the sequence of boom, 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 double up. We call it the double up. If you learn it, man, you do it every time, and you're going to get open every single time. It's no way for you to cover the wiggle, and it just always impressed me going back and watching your film that, man, you showed them that big body types can wiggle a little bit, baby.
I always got to go back to Coach Brown. Man, he told me. I remember in practice one day, Coach grabbed me, man. He said, I don't know if you can curse him, but I like to say, he said, GD, boy, don't you know you the biggest, baddest, fastest thing out here, and everybody get in front of you, they scared of you.
Yes, indeed. He lit that fire in you.
He lit that fire, man, and I would get that. Because I could see it in their eyes, but I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. And when I got in front of a guy, I could see him looking real funny. And when Coach told me that, it changed my perception. These guys are afraid of me because I'm going to beat you.
Yes, indeed.
And that's what they were afraid of. And that changed my life in terms of the way I handle football. Because I knew I had something that they didn't have.
Right.
I had that will, and I had somebody back here pushing me, telling me that you could be what you want to be, but you got to put the work in.
And you needed that.
And I needed that.
You needed that. The crazy.
And he got me there.
He
got me there.
The crazy thing is my uncle O.C. Brown, we had like 17 nieces and nephews, and just so many of us, and we played football from sun up to sundown. All right, especially my older cousins, and my uncle would come out there and he would coach us up in the same way. GD, boy, you got to catch it. Butterfingers, you can't be scared. You can't be afraid of the hit. You got to catch it. You're going to get hit anyway. You might as well catch it. He used to coach us up just like he coached the college boys up. And when I would be on the sideline and just see he had that raspy voice, and he just get after you and yelling at you, and I said, man, that is what made me comfortable. Whenever I came across a coach who yelled like that, I liked it. That was home for me.
I got to say this, though, man, because I like to give the Bucs their credit, man. When they inducted me into the Ring of Honor, Brian Ford, who's the
COO.
Yeah, COO of the Buccaneers. Man, they brought Coach Casson.
Oh, my goodness.
Coach Brown and his wife.
Mario Casson.
Betty Casson and Coach Casson, they brought them back. Man, it was a pleasure.
Wow.
To bring those guys back and just let them sit there and enjoy what they had produced.
What they were a part of.
Where they brought me. Because they brought me there.
That was so awesome.
And it was awesome for me and my wife to be able to show them our appreciation, man. And, it's always that next level that you want to thank them for, and hopefully, that'll happen eventually.
Well, I will say this about our organization. They have always done a tremendous job, and I didn't have the career that you had, but they've even also allowed me to be a part of great moments like that and kept me around the organization, and I'm just always appreciative of them and how they handled their former players. Man, it was just such an honor to.
But you know who started that?
Who's that?
Gruden.
Oh, yeah?
Gruden started that.
Well, Gruden loves his players, man.
He loves his players.
He get a bad rap sometimes, and we had our friction in the media. But one thing was for certain: if Gruden was on your side, he was on your side, baby.
Because he would always say, "Man, you guys started this thing."
Yeah.
Because Gruden used to throw me passes. Him and John
back
McKay,
when he was a boy.
Rich McKay, when I was playing football, they used to throw me passes because after practice, I wanted to catch 100 balls all different ways after practice. And I would get McKay was at Tampa Catholic, and he would throw me balls as a quarterback. And Gruden said, man, because this game going to be over real quick, and you're going to be a former Buck, or you're going to be a former Buck.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to know that this is where you're going to be once you retire.
Yeah.
And that he instilled that in a lot of guys, man. So you got to give the Bucks their credit.
Absolutely.
Man,
Shouts out to my old coach, Chucky.
Yeah.
John Gruden, always putting forth some great things. He's got his hands full down there in Las Vegas. But
he does.
I'm still
they
rooting.
pull out a
Still,
tight one yesterday.
yeah, I'm still rooting for him to do well. Well, Jimmy, listen, thank you so much for joining. I know it's tough times right now, and I want to just encourage everyone to still go out, protect yourself. Like, we're not out of this COVID thing. Wear your mask, stay safe, wash your hands, and do all of those things so that we can kind of, do our part to lessen these things that are going around. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you for the influence that you've given our city, not only for your football career, but your life after football and your businesses that you have, just kind of putting us on the map, showing us that it's possible to make your own way. If you do the job and do the work, you can be successful, and that's an example that you've always set since I was drafted here in 2004, and from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Miss you and Miss Vivian.
I
love you guys.
That. And, of course, Sabrina would always say, now, y'all look out for my baby
yeah,
down there.
Man. Yes,
Michael.
indeed.
But my daughter and my family, we have a charity, and we sponsor Town and Country Elementary School. We give them computers and things like that. My daughter's a very instrumental part of making that happen, Candace. And our main sponsor is Pilot Bank.
Okay.
They do whatever we ask them to do to make sure that these young kids, are equipped with the things that is going to help their future. And it's amazing what kids will do when you put a computer in front of them. I've seen them take Legos and have little walking robots and have these robots doing things
Yes,
for them.
indeed.
These are kids, man, and I'm looking at this and I say,
How they do that? They sponges.
Right.
They
right.
sponges,
they take
Jimmy.
it in. So I gotta say, between family is the ultimate thing. You got to keep your family together, work with them, and show them the right way, and God will always be good and bless you.
I appreciate that. Remember, the word for the day today is influence. How are you influencing others in what you're doing in your day-to-day walk? Are you being a positive light, or are you being a negative light? My message to you today is be inspired to make a difference in your community. Everybody that you meet, find a way to influence them in a positive way. That's it for the Mic'd Up on Monday mornings with Michael Clayton. We got another episode down in the books. I hope you join us next Monday, 10 a.m. on the dot. We will see you next week. Y'all have a blessed day.